The story you are about to see is a fib, but it's short. The names are made up, but the problems are real.
It was Thursday, 9:43 a.m., and the summer heat was taking its toll on New Yorkers. Young sidewalk entrepreneurs in Midtown were selling pre-sweatshirts and making a bundle. I was working the day watch out of Mathent. The boss is Joe Greco. My partner is George Frankley. My name is Tuesday. I'm a mathematician. George, Benny, Stanley Swinnen, a student of Benny's, and I were hip deep in an insurance mystery. Meglopolitan Insurance was losing money on...
auto insurance.
Cars?
Our policy sales are up 2%.
That should make you happy.
Sales increases always make me happy. But claims are up 3%.
Claims. The amount of money you've paid out?
Exactly. Our payouts are up from what we'd expected.
We met with the company's insurance investigator and asked him the definition of insurance.
Can you tell me something?
He took just one breath and exhaled.
Insurance is the act system or business of insuring property, life, or one's person against loss or harm arising in specified contingencies as fire, accident, theft, death, or disablement in consideration of a payment proportionate to the risk involved.
Which is what I was about to say. We sifted through facts and certain patterns began to emerge.
Look at that. The increase in claims is almost totally due to thefts.
We also learned that 75% of the cars stolen in New York are recovered within 4 days, and yet none of the cars insured out of the Greenwich Village office were recovered. Not only that, but as we went back over our facts, we noticed another pattern emerging.
Wait just a tick. About how many sales agents would you say there are at the Greenwich Village office?
Oh, I'd have to estimate...
Uh-huh.
Well, it would only be a guess, you understand.
Sure.
I don't know what the exact number is.
I understand.
I could look it up.
Just a rough figure.
Well, I'd hate to be held to it.
Just an approximate number.
Maybe 19 or 20.
Close enough. The point is, all the policies on those expensive cars were sold by one agent.
25 tops.
The man's name was Casper Flush. We decided to pay him a call. Mr. Flush, can you explain how it happens that zero of the cars you've insured recently have been recovered by the police?
No.
Can you explain how most of your recent policy sales have been on very expensive cars?
No.
Can you explain why your office is showing such a huge increase in claims?
No. I'm not doing very well, am I?
No.
We'll be in touch, Mr. Flush. I was feeling pretty good about the case, but I couldn't say the same for our young friend Stanley Swinnen and his chitty chitty bang bang. Hello, Orville, Wilbur, Captain.
Orville and Wilbur? The Wright brothers, remember? Before they flew the airplane, they had a bike shop in Dayton, Ohio.
We got it, George. How is their insurance investigation going?
It looks like one of Meglopolitan's employees is into it up to his actuarial table, Skipper, but we can't figure it out.
By the way, there was a guy out there waiting to see you two.
What's his name?
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Hi, Johnny. What's new?
Snoo? It's the white stuff that falls from the sky in the winter. Children roll it into big balls and pile it on top of one another and make snoo persons out of it. Why, often in days of yore, snoo forts were constructed and snoo fights often ensued, usually providing gaiety and hilarity for all those concerned. That's what snoo. Why do you ask?
If I can be of any help.
What are those, Johnny?
The documents you asked Mrs. Wilcall for, Pat. Everything is there. My reports, police reports, canceled premium checks. What ran over your wheels, Stanley?
I'm trying to build a bike in time for the Wimpy's Bike Show, Mr. Dollar.
You're an inventive little tyke, aren't you?
We had a talk with Casper Flush, Johnny.
Stimulated you right out of your socks, didn't he?
We think he knows a lot more about this case than he's telling us.
Mr. Dollar, you must have some suspicions about this case.
You know, Pat, when I look into a criminal case, I always start at the top.
The top? The president?
Stranger things have happened. Check it out. Ta-ta!
The top? Mrs. Wilcall? What would Mrs. Wilcall have to gain?
Right. The company's paid out hundreds of thousands of dollars. Unless
the company isn't paying out the money. Maybe Mrs. Wilcall is just saying she's paying it out, but actually she's keeping it for herself.
How's she gonna do that?
I don't know.
Besides, here are the canceled checks. There are 20 of them. The money was paid out.
Well, then something else maybe.
The money was paid out. And it was a lot of money, George. Guess how much?
Well, I'd have to estimate. Those cars were all expensive. I'd guess they'd average about 50,000 each, and there were, how many cars?
20.
20 times 50. I'd estimate they paid about $1 million.
Close. They paid $1,075,097.
And it was all paid to the same guy.
What are you talking about, Stanley? These are all different guys.
Sure, there's 20 different guys. Look at the names.
But look at the signatures.
What about the signatures? They're all different. This one is big and bold.
This one's tiny. This one slants to the left, this one to the right. Why do you say they're all the same guy?
Look at the T's.
What a... Wait a minute.
Well, they're all crossed, sort of.
Downhill. See, every time there's a T in a name, it's crossed the same way.
You may be onto something, Stanley. You just may be. But we don't know enough about handwriting.
Let's consult with an expert.
Captain Greco, didn't you used to be in forensic? Specifically in the handwriting division?
Yes, why?
We'd like you to look at something.
What?
Some handwriting.
You guys go ahead. I'm going to check on some of the car dealers.
Let's get back to work on the bike, Orville.
Okay, Wilbur.
What do you look at when you're analyzing handwriting, Chief?
Lots of things. The curvature of the letters, the overall size, the loops. Some handwriting is very controlled. Some is sweeping, some is hesitant. You look at the direction of the strokes.
What can you tell me about these signatures?
Off the top, they look like they were written by the same person.
Will that hold up in court as evidence?
Not necessarily. Handwriting analysis is not generally accepted as an exact science.
That means the defense might find someone who would disagree with your opinion?
Right. It's their experts against our experts. Let me study these examples a little longer.
George, I think you and I should go talk to some car dealers.
What about the car owners?
Why don't you cover them?
Okay. Come on, Orville.
Right, Wilbur.
Meet you back here.
Without our crack driver, Benny Pill, we got a police car from the motor pool. Driving in New York City is different than driving in most other places. You don't have to be very good at it. We checked out our first address. It sounded like a typical car dealer, except when we got there.
What do you mean?
What I mean is I don't sell cars. I never did sell cars. With a little luck and a good wind at my back, I never will sell cars.
And there never has been a car dealer at this location?
Lady, I've been selling newspapers here since the Chicago Cubs won a baseball pennant. That's how long.
You don't look that old.
I use skin lotions.
That was surprising, and so were the next two stops. One address was a vacant lot, and the other was an overpriced restaurant in Soho. Neither had ever been an automobile dealership. We tried a fourth address.
Of course, I am sure. I took over this store from my father, who took it over from his father, and they have never sold automobiles here.
Doesn't look like you sell anything.
I had a good morning. I sell out.
What had you been selling?
Goats.
George, let's go back to the office.
Goats?